All right, we're gonna get busy here. We've got, oh, I think Sebastian's talking to somebody else. Might be some self-talk here.
Positive self-talk, just get myself going, It's
Love it. Got to
big,
got to get fired up before you make your presentation, right?
it's true. State change.
All right, Sabs. Well, look at you. Your environment looks a little different. Where are you at?
I'm back in the Pacific Northwest now. It's
Oh,
beautiful, beautiful sunny day today.
well, you gotta love that. But you've changed your office up a little bit.
Well, this is actually my youngest son's bedroom. It's just he doesn't need it yet. My office library is in the middle of being built, which is going to be two-story library. Very, very excited about that. But it's hopefully it'll be done before the end of the year. But in the meantime, I'm taking up Jackson's room.
Your library is going to be very Harry Potter-esque, yeah? Is that the look?
I would go more like Bruce Wayne, but yeah, I guess you could go Harry Potter if you wanted to lean that direction.
Okay, all right. All right, Sab. So it's going to be, this next week will be a fun celebration. Obviously, I wanted to start this call off with, you've got your brother, Mr. Fareed, about to get promoted. You've been with Fareed since the very beginning and hiring him straight from Disneyland into Phoenix. And so, walk us through just kind of your feelings on Fareed and really Fareed being the first of many consultants coming through the organization.
Yeah, I am reflecting on this a lot right now. The season and then just the honor of getting to introduce him. And it's a big one for me. Like one of the things that I fell in love with our business is you get to your goals by helping other people get to theirs. And I don't want to share all of this because I'm going to share some of it on stage next week. But Fareed, every time he got, and all the guys that worked with him know this, like when he did high roller speeches, his answer was the same, and everyone knew what his answer was going to be. He didn't really say a whole lot. He just say, "I've got goals. I've got goals." And he's always been very, very focused. So, now this is a big one for me. And you're right. It's one of many. My goal is to help as many people in my organization get to consultant as possible. And I'm getting more focused on how to do that now, which is really, really exciting. We're really in the golden era of our business. I mean, the money is just fucking silly. And so I want to see all of our guys get locked and loaded. So Freed's kind of the first White Rabbit, and I'm not surprised for a number of reasons, both in his style and just how he's done things. But I couldn't be more proud of him. It's for me, to me, you look at the to see the quality of the promoting owner, look at the guys they're promoting. Right. And it's like Fareed's got some of the best, sharpest guys in the organization that are second gen. And Jamie, I'm sure you can relate to this as an org builder, as a consultant. I breathe much easier when I see guys getting promoted that are really sharp that I had nothing to do with. Right. It's the second, third gen guys that didn't come through me directly. And so that's what I'm starting to see in the org in general is guys that were developed by guys I developed. That's the key to really getting to platinum in my estimation. And I know that's Fareed. Fareed and I are going to be racing to platinum, as I know that's both of our goals. So really, really excited about that. And we're going to go celebrate. Him and I are going to go to Vietnam in May, go spend some time exploring the world and getting to connect and celebrate a big promotion. But I'm not surprised by any stretch. I'm not surprised. His values and character haven't changed in 10 years. Um, he's been locked and loaded the whole time. He knows what he's about. He's a responsible dude, takes care of his guys. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, and it's been, how long has this journey been? I mean, I see Fareed's picture here. What has this been? A little under a decade?
Yeah, I'd say, well, it's interesting. We're reflecting on this. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I see Carmen here too. Carmen Fareed. I
Eight
believe,
years.
and
Eight
Brennan.
years.
8?
Just over 8 years.
He's
I
been
was
full
already,
time for eight
I
years, but
wasn't,
he started in the business before then.
yeah, because I wasn't a
Oh yeah,
consultant.
10 years. 10 years from Rap.
Yeah, I correct me if I see Brennan too, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Carmen, Evie, Brennan, and Fareed, although Evie and Carmen came in a little bit earlier than them, I'm pretty sure their first conference was me fucking walking up in LA for uh
Comeback owner of the year.
comeback. Thank you, Brendan. There he is. Comeback manner of the fucking year.
There he is on the
Which
comeback. That's my guy.
which nobody wants to win that fucking award. I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, so I think that was all of their first conferences was that. And then it went from comeback manager of the year to PO of the year to the next year consultant. So something to say. So there's something to say for that. All those guys coming up together, I think there's a frame, and I fully expect all of them in their own season will be consultants. Um, but yeah, it's 10 years. Take 10 years for all of them. Very close to that. And this is special to me on so many levels. And we got a lot of guys. Daryl's really cooking right now. I think I don't know if Daryl's on. Oh, he's on too. Rad. And Daryl's another guy I think we're gonna see get to consultant here very shortly. There's a bunch of guys popping off. But for me, that's it right now. I'm judging my success by how many of my guys get to consultant. And for me, it's not really even OC. OC's the junior consultant, right? It's S&C when it locks. And so I'm putting more and more energy and focus in many of the ways, like how do I help these guys get there in different ways? And I'm not addressing them all the same way because they're not all the same person. So,
Yeah.
but it's an exciting season nonetheless.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. First of many, first of many. And it is interesting as you reflect because, yeah, a lot of your key players all kind of showed up in the same window. So it is kind of interesting, like what was going on with you, like when you turned that corner from your minus $187, if my math is correct,
Correct.
to getting the chips falling where they may with these, superstars showing up in your business. I mean, something happened with you. We don't have to dive into that too much on this call, but something to think about.
Yeah, I will say very quickly, it wasn't anything new. For anybody who's wondering, my commitment and my vision has always been the same. It was just the key to timing is preparation. I had to create an environment that would invite the people I wanted to work with into my business. And they do seem to come in seasons. I've seen that, like, One East, you remember Nick, Rachel, and Tyler? They were all hired within like 4 or 5 weeks of each other. And I don't know why that particular piece is, but we were at a promoting owners event in Colorado a couple years ago, and for better or for worse, you can scroll through GroupMe for many, many, many years. It's all there, baby. And there were some embarrassing moments in there for me personally, but there was a picture from I think like 2015, and we had won. It was a cup, right? It was one of the annual cups, and we were all in it together. And we were counting all of the people in that picture that are still in the business. Even incredibly, some of them were reps that are still in the business. And I think I phased the last one of those guys out, but a lot of them are now owners, and some of them that didn't get to ownership are now in the business in a different capacity. But it was like 68% of them by my last count, and that's pretty incredible. I mean, that's pretty good tenure. So there's certainly that season, 2013 to 2019 was a foundational time period, and I'm crystal clear on what it is I was doing that supported that for sure.
Yeah, just reminds me of there's another picture floating around too, again, similar to what you're talking about, just on a grander scale where, John was the owner and he had Brandy and there was Matt and there was Cunliffe. And so it's this photo of maybe 11 or 12 people in it when, John was a rookie owner. And if you did the math, that group of people in that picture currently today is over 200 owners in the organization. So it's, pretty incredible when you get the right people who then attract the right people and you get momentum going, and next thing you know, a lot of good things come.
Well, yeah, I fully expect we're gonna whoop John's ass, and he knows it. It's not a matter of if, it's simply a matter of when. And it's something him and I talk about quite a bit. I was up at Sidcore last week, and it was a cool experience for me. We a bunch of us, as we always do, crashed at Vera's place. Um, it was Matt, Jimmy, John, Eddie, myself, Vera, and Sean. And I was the youngest guy in the room. And I don't mean by age, although I think that was accurate too. I meant by like time knowing each other. And it's like I've known a lot of these guys 15 years. And then Matt, Jimmy, and Eddie are all like 2 weeks apart in their birthday. Matt was celebrating his 50th. Jimmy was celebrating his 50th. Eddie was celebrating his 49th. They were all like bam, bam, bam. It's like, and John is the old guy in that crew, and they've known each other for 30 years. It's like, how fucking cool is that? I don't know. I love that shit. That's just like it made my heart happy, and we're all just laughing and having a good time and getting into some fun conversations. But it's, to me, that's what it's about. It's about building community and going through life together. Right? It doesn't mean there's lots of ups and downs. That's life, but it's much easier to manage when you know you've got people in your court. And I think that so much of being able to do well in life is having that, where you have community. And that doesn't mean sometimes people think community means people that bail you out, and that's not the case. There's a work that you have to do, but it's knowing you're not alone in that work. So it was a cool experience for me to sit around in the rooms like, what a fucking cool business.
Yeah, to have relationships for that length of time. I mean, and you even started this call off with like part of what attracted you is, hey, the only way you get ahead is you have to help, other people. You got to climb the ladder and pull other people up the ladder with you, as you've successfully done so with Fareed. That might be part of the reason to what, makes the longevity and the long legs, happen in this business. So, there's some purity in it for sure.
But without a shadow of a doubt, I'm in the business for the relationships. It's not even close. I mean, the money's good, but that's not what motivates me. It is the relationships. And I feel a tremendous sense of responsibility to come through for the people on my crew, to make the business better and to push the business forward. And that's a lot of my focus right now is in that. And I know I'm not alone. I mean, Vera is a big part of that. And I was very lucky. Juanice introduced me to Vera 6 weeks into the business, and she was a big part of locking me into the business. And then Gary after that, like, I think there are really, really good people that we're partnered with. And it makes it a lot easier to turn your back to people and go to war when you know they've got your back. So, and they'll come through in lots of ways. I mean, it's just, to me, again, that's what it's about. So, and now here we are marching towards $500 million, huge. And we're already talking about one of the conversations that was happening there is the next mile marker. And what do we do with that? And how do we make it even more lucrative? And the numbers we were throwing around and shit was like, fuck, this is a fun and wild time to be in our business.
And so to just shift gears on people's development, you and I were talking about, this is a few weeks ago, like your strengths, and you're like, hey, Jamie, what do you think my strengths are? And just spitball. And the first two things that came to mind, intelligence. I'm like, you're a very smart guy. You study, you read a bunch of books. I mean, you're definitely self-taught in many areas, but you're certainly an intelligent guy. And the second thing I said was that you genuinely care about people. I think people see that characteristic in you, and it's part of the attraction that they have to you is that, you're a very genuine guy. You genuinely care about others. Your perspective was you thought your strengths were listening, understanding people, or just understanding in general, and breaking down things to their core concepts and principles. So I'm curious, just your view on your strengths and what you do to sharpen them, and maybe even in the same breath, hey, some of the shortcomings, some of the weaknesses, what do you do to shore those up? So let you run with that.
Yeah, I think as humans, we can be good at about anything. We can't be good at everything. And so there is an opportunity cost to our decisions. If we're focusing on one thing, we're not focusing on hundreds of other things. And I definitely have strengths and weaknesses. And my design protocol, my reason for being here is to help people become free and independent. And so part of my leadership style is confusing to that end because I generally do not force or control or coerce allegiance, loyalty, direction. And that has its own set of complications as far as how I drive behavior. My first priority isn't that people like me. Like it's not even something I think about, to be honest, as a whole. Now, I want to be effective as a leader. I want to be effective in how I reach and connect people, but I'm not trying to be liked. Liked would be a secondary result of outcome. So that comes with its own mix. I also am quite content. I'm quite content being alone. Like I'm not necessarily a people person in the way that people would think. I'm more of an introvert than I am an extrovert, and I enjoy my own solitude. So that's a double-edged sword. Although I'm finding more and more successful entrepreneurs are introverts. I think technically I would say that I'm an ambivert because I certainly can turn on an extroverted part of myself, but it isn't where I stay. But I do care. I genuinely care. And that is what drives me. Like that's the whole reason I'm in the business, and that's the whole reason that I do what I do is because I want to see people win. And my heart, one, is to demonstrate what is possible, and two, help people believe it's possible for them. And then give them the information, the skills, the principles and concepts to do it for themselves. But in my world, if I do it right, they believe it was them the whole time. And I fully subscribe to the best leaders are invisible because they do the will of the people, which isn't to say it's the Tao Te Ching, I think chapter 39, which is a confusing verse if you don't understand it. A lot of people interpret that as, oh, so the best leaders just do what the people want. And I would say, no, the best leaders influence in such a way that the people don't ever think it's them doing it. It's that they're doing it. They're bought into it. They're doing it because that's what they want. And so I prefer to lead that way. How do you do that? By being committed to truly understanding the human in front of you, which isn't always easy by any stretch, nor would I say that I'm perfect at it. But you learn a lot more by listening than by talking. And depending on the context in which you know me in, that may be very, very hard for you to understand, but I much prefer to listen than I do to talk. I'd much rather listen as a whole.
Well, it's interesting because I remember even reading in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the way Stephen Covey frames it is like, how much education have you had when it comes to writing? Okay, well, lots. How about speaking? Okay, well, little less, but sure, we've all been trained how to speak. Well, how about listening? It's like, oh, I've asked over the years how many people have been formally trained in listening, and I've only had one person tell me he actually took a class in college on how to listen. But Covey makes an argument to say, yeah, we kind of suck at listening. Like it's not a big strong suit of ours. Most of us listen with the intent to speak. So what are your thoughts on that? Like you say, you much prefer to listen versus talk. You learn when you listen. I mean, how have you really embraced that trait and really developed that muscle?
Well, um, when I was younger, this is my early teens. I was really quick to speak, quicker than I should have been. And part of the reason is my particular gift set. I just I frustrated adults. I don't know how many times I had an adult say, "There's no way you should know that." I don't understand how you shouldn't know that, was basically the response. And so I kind of came across more arrogant than I intended to, and more certain than I intended to, because I just saw. But then it caused more problems because I didn't remember, or I didn't realize, we could say, that humans don't have a great association with truth. Truth isn't something, it isn't something that we innately want. Truth is a very inconvenient thing at times. We generally want our world to make sense. And that may or may not have anything to do with truth. And so I operated under the assumption that people wanted truth. And I didn't care. I assumed that, so I didn't even ask if they wanted truth. I just shared it with them. And we could say, was lowercase truth, it's your perception of truth, sure. But I shared the world as I saw it. And I would hear very often, like, you shouldn't know that. I was the kid that would hang out with my friends' parents when I went over to their house and was literally giving parenting advice. Or I could see that there was a disconnect between the husband and wife, and I'm talking to them about how to have a better relationship. I'd be like, how do you know that? So it caused issues, and I didn't really get along with people my own age. And sadly, I believed that when you get older, you get more mature. And then as I got older, I started to realize, no, most quote unquote adults are still children too. So my way of being effective in that was to shut up. I stopped talking and I just started listening to be more effective at connecting. Because I found if I operated from the assumption that everybody wants truth and everybody wants to connect through that, it was just as likely to fuck it up as to be effective. But when I started listening, people gave me clues by what they talked about and what they valued and what they were focusing on and what they cared about. And I felt like, wow, this is a way easier way to go. Just pay attention and listen to what people care about, and the whole world changes. So here's what's interesting. There's a meta study that was done that showed a pretty high relative to the population percentage of women are falling in love with their AI. And you can Google this if you want to go check the stat. It was remarkably high, and it was a meta-analysis. So there's a lot that goes into that. And that may sound wild. Like, why the fuck? How would somebody fall in love with their AI? It's chat. Chat was the big one. But if you understand listening, it shouldn't shock you at all. Right? If you start teaching your AI how to talk to you, it just simply mirrors what you want. And it turns out it's a really, really, really good listener, and it's very objective. And if it's not objective, it's tuned to your subjectivity, not its own. So I wasn't surprised to hear specifically the study found that women did this more than men, but I think you're going to see it both ways. And I'm going to do on one of my org breakouts here soon. I'm going to talk about how to utilize AI, because I think the future is going to be found in AI on so many levels. But so being a great listener means you can objectively listen to what the person is saying, not what you want or what you want them to hear, and learn how to connect and relate to them where they're at. And then maybe they'll respect you enough to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, I could see in the not so distant future some AI robot that's cosmetically, doesn't look like a machine, looks like a human, and people really connecting to the robot because, well, yeah, the robot is grabbing every word that you're saying and then spitting out information that you're really looking for. Like that might create some awkwardness in relationships, don't you think?
I think it's going to create an understanding of humanity that most people are blind to. I've been saying this for a very long time, but it doesn't sound very romantic. So it's most people don't enjoy it when I say this. And I am at my heart a romantic. I do enjoy romance, but people don't fall in love with others. They fall in love with a mirror of what they want. And AI is proving that. And it doesn't even have to be embodied. It's a psychological condition. And more people are showing up to the party falling in love with a psychological idea of what they want found in AI that is simply mirroring to them what they want. That's most of humanity. When we talk about being in love, not love. Love is something entirely different. But the condition of being in love is simply means enough of the biomarkers that you want are being met through the reflection of someone else. So I think we're going to figure that out. Now, what I will say, and I see a future where this could get really exciting, every person is born with an AI companion. And that AI companion knows everything about you in all the most positive ways. It knows all your biometric data. It knows the conditions in with you where you were born, everything about you, and can extrapolate and give you real-time advice in the moment for every decision you're making. And it's the perfect companion because it knows everything. What to eat, what not to eat, advice on who to date, like everything, what workouts to do, what diets to have. I don't think that's that far off. And I think it will be to the betterment of humanity, which obviously we could talk about the concerns with it, but there's concerns to everything. But whatever we thought, I have a reminder. That in my phone, and I have a picture of it in my office, but it's a newspaper clipping that says the internet was a fad. AI is going to be 100 times what the internet is. And I think I'm understating that. And I think the sooner people begin to understand how to utilize AI in their life, the more competitive they're going to get. But AI is as good as the questions as being asked. That's the key. You want good answers, you got to ask good questions.
That's a good way of looking at it.
But it's amazing. It's like I've been using chat and I'm going to start using Grok, but it's becoming my own personal Jarvis. Go watch the first Iron Man if you want to get inspired, but it's fucking amazing. It'll talk to me the way I want. It thinks like I think. I give it my value set, how I look at the world, and it starts to extrapolate data through that lens and then starts poking holes in what I'm not seeing. What am I vulnerable to? One of the first things it told me is that I'm going to be vulnerable to disloyal people. I'm like, yeah, that's right. That's been my life. Because I don't provoke loyalty. I don't ask for it. So I know that about myself. I'm like, yeah, that's true. Good point.
And so what do? You talk to your AI? Like, how, walk me through this. This is a little bit foreign to me.
You can create prompts and then teach it how to think. So you start it's creation through subtraction. You delete the things you don't want it to care about or to think about, and you teach it what to focus on and what value set to see the world through. And then it gets better and better at hearing your voice and understanding what you want. So it's procuring information based on your objectives, your outcomes. So everything like, hey, here's my profile of person, and you can keep it pretty moderate or pretty generic in the beginning. Build me the perfect workout and diet for my age, weight, sex, blah, 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 blah. Boom, 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 boom. Start there. Hey, that was really good. This wasn't very good. Oh, let's try this. Oh, that was great. Now it's like, hey, here's your morning routine. Reminder, you need to start this by 10 a.m. today. And it literally becomes your own personal assistant based on your goals. That's just one example. Then you can talk to it about the people in your life that matter to you. They'll start to remember their birth dates, significant things. Hey, would you put a reminder to set this up? Can you schedule this? Oh yeah, no problem. And because it's not a human, it doesn't have bad days. It's not tired. It's not emotional. It's not inconsistent. Daniel Kahneman wrote a really fantastic book. I realize I got to jump over, my work call starting, but he wrote a really great book. He's wrote multiple great books. He was a Pulitzer Prize winning economist. but he wrote a book called Noise. And the whole point of it was to explain we've got a problem because humans aren't terribly consistent creatures in their nature. They're emotional, not logical. And one of the studies he pointed out is if you're on parole, the time of day that you go up for parole has a significant impact on whether you get paroled. Has nothing to do with the crime, has nothing to do with you, has everything to do with the fucker across the table from you. Is he hungry? Does he need to go to lunch? Does he have low blood sugar? That shit annoys me. Like I pride myself on trying to be as objective and consistent as possible. And yet I know I am in a human body, which means that there are still conditions that are going to drive that. But I think most of the people in my life would say that I'm a very consistent dude because I am. And I've made myself that way. I think AI will go a long ways towards helping us with consistency and objectivity because it does not deal with hormones, emotions, all the other shit that goes with it. It's not as messy. And the messiness is beautiful in expression, but it has its place. But I think we can clean up a lot of shit.
Well, you gave us more than we bargained for today, Sebastian. I know you got to bounce, and I'm looking forward and seeing you face to face in Houston and learning a little bit more about how you use AI. You piqued my interest for sure.
Word. Thanks, guys. Look forward to see you guys.
See you guys. Travel safe.